Or is that me? Hannah, did you go out?
Okay. Okay, can you hear us?
Can you hear us? No.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't hear you guys.
Weird. I wonder.
Hold on. So weird.
Oh, maybe it's not allowing me to speak. It's only allowing. I wonder who Jolene. Jolene, can you hear us? Tabitha, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, you
Okay.
can. Okay. So Jolene can hear us.
Correct.
Okay, great. So
Amy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the registration link. Can you go in through the registration link rather than the Zoom link?
you can't hear. Hi. So let me just mute myself.
Okay. Mm-mm. I can't hear anyone. Mm-mm.
Maybe here.
I am using an external speaker here. I can take it out if you want. That might be it. All right, let's see.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I'll get rid of this.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. Okay, we're having a tech issue.
All right, we got it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay.
And then you guys can invite me to share screen, right?
Okay, I'm going to invite you to share your screen.
Okay, perfect.
So what we have to do then is
So can I share now or?
1 minute. I'm going
Okay.
to setting it all up. Okay. Okay, I made you the host so you can share your screen.
Okay, perfect.
Take a look and see if that worked. Great. Wonderful.
There we go.
Great. Okay. So we'll give it just a couple more minutes
Okay,
and then we'll get started.
great. And you guys will just go first and introduce me, and then I'll take your
Exactly.
cue. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think we're all set. So a little moment of tech issues.
I know, right? That was like in the nick of time. That was my fault.
It's okay. You never know. Like I just forget it. It's like I'm the worst at that. Thank God Hannah was here to and Talia.
Yeah, no, it always works out. It's just always that moment.
Yeah. But even no matter how many times you do it, I feel like there's always like something, you know,
Always something. Always. There's always a hidden button or like,
something changes. It's just like it just always makes it challenging.
yeah.
Okay, let me go out of okay. Well, it's 6 p.m. So I guess we could, I guess, start the process. Let me see how many have joined us. Or I guess I can't see. Oh, no, nine people. Because we have about how many? Like 36 or yeah. So I guess we'll just give it one more minute and then we'll start.
Awesome.
Okay, Hannah's suggesting that we wait a couple of minutes because we have about 50 RSVPs. So we'll just give it a little.
Perfect. It's just 6 now, so yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
Those that have joined us. Okay, so um, good evening, everyone who's joined us. I'm Christina Merrill, the founder and CEO of the Bone Marrow and Cancer Foundation and the creator of CancerBuddy app. Welcome to this month's conversation and webinar. As most of you know, CancerBuddy is the first social support network for cancer patients, survivors, and caregivers in our cancer community. And it's a place for people to connect, find support, be lifted up by each other, whether you need advice, a good laugh, or a vent session, or just someone who gets it. You'll find people here because no one should fight alone. On CancerBuddy, we have a new group called Dating After Diagnosis. You can join the group by downloading the CancerBuddy app and receive support. Each month, we have a CancerBuddy conversation. And to get tonight, I'm excited that we're doing a discussion on a topic that resonates with many, dating after a cancer diagnosis and navigating the relationships, love, and connection can be obviously very complex and under any circumstance. And with a cancer journey, it often adds a whole nother layer of emotions and challenges. So I'm honored to welcome my friend, Amy, the founder of Love Amy. Amy is a dating expert, relationship coach, best-selling author, and has been featured on top media outlets. She helps people find deep, meaningful connections in the modern dating world. With her incredible insights and compassionate approach, Amy will share her expertise on dating after a diagnosis, how to embrace vulnerability, communicate openly, and build authentic connections. And Amy will start her presentation and will be followed by a Q&A. And you'll all have a chance to ask questions and we'll engage in a great conversation. Thank you all for joining us and please welcome Amy.
Hey, thank you so much, Christina, for that wonderful introduction. That was really heartwarming. I'm so happy to be here with you all. And I want to make this really interactive, meaning jot down. I hope you have a journal, some paper, pen, because I have a lot of kind of tips, tricks, advice. And I'm really going to start this presentation. We're more alike than we're not. And so in dating, everybody's vulnerable. Everybody's got a thing. And I've worked with, clients who have cancer. I've worked with clients who have MS. I've worked with clients who are paraplegic. I have worked with clients with autoimmune diseases. So it's really pretty fascinating to me how anybody feels a certain amount of anxiety and worry and stress around dating. And then you do add on some layers and it's like, oh my gosh, like when do I disclose what's going on with me and how do I peel the onion? And so I'm going to take you through a presentation that I will tailor a little bit for you. And at the end of the presentation, you'll see some very distinct steps just for you guys. But I want you to jot down questions as you have them, as they come. And then I'm going to make this hopefully about 30 minutes so that I leave a lot of room for questions because I am here to really get involved with you guys. So first, I'll give you my story really quickly. So being a dating coach is the biggest plot twist of my life. I never thought in a million years I'd be doing this. And this job is the reason why I'm here on earth. I feel lucky to have found my purpose. Much like Christina, I think you have found yours. And I was in PR and marketing. I was married for 20 years. I was with this person for 26 years and got myself out of the marriage a little while ago, like 8, 9 years ago now, and was in New York City, tossed myself into dating in my 40s. And I did not have a clue, did not know what I was doing. Nobody set me up. Everyone said they would. And I had to learn the apps, which 6 out of 10 couples now result from the apps. So you'll see a lot of advice that sort of centers around the apps as well. I met my now brand new husband on Bumble. And I work with the app. I work with my clients via the apps all the time. I mean, they're really, really, if we crack the code correctly, they really can be helpful, even though I think people look at them as sort of a necessary evil. So I turned sort of my success story into a business, and it is the joy of my life. So I'm just going to impart some knowledge. So can you relate? I hear this all the time. I feel like I don't know how to do dating. Maybe I'm just destined to be alone. I picked the wrong people. Something's wrong with me. I'm trying to find love. I feel stuck. The apps don't work for me. And especially for this audience, for you guys, it's like, well, how do I even approach it? When do I talk about this? And how do I broach the subject of what I'm going through? So we'll really get into all of that. One thing that I want you guys to all know, and it's just a good reminder. I'm writing a book right now, and I'm really embracing this being lovable is our birthright. I mean, name any toddler out there who's running around saying like, I don't know, I'm just okay. Like, so remembering that being lovable is what we're born with. 95% of my clients don't believe they're lovable as they are, right? So again, we're more alike than we're different. So just know that everybody in the dating world is going through their own stuff. And also, they are struggling with feeling lovable. And it could be, something completely random that you would never guess. So I work with my clients all the time on really building self love, self trust, self compassion. Um, Feeling unlovable will block your dating success. Why? Because all we are is energy. So if you feel unlovable, you will be. I'm an intuitive, so I'm really witchy. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about energy. And if you're vibrating low, you're not as magnetic, I mean, we all have that friend who walks in the room and sucks the energy right out. It doesn't matter what they're going through, what they look like. It's like, and then we all have that friend who walks in the room and they're magnetic. And so really working on that self-love and self-compassion is really, really important, especially for you guys. And so it's just important to remember everyone goes through it. Kind of trace back maybe what are your past patterns? Where did you kind of start to feel unlovable? Maybe it's growing up a certain way. For me, it's my stepdad who's RIP, but we had our struggles and kind of first implanted that feeling of unlovability. What kind of patterns do you have with past partners that can make you feel a little bit less lovable? Know that you can be a work in progress and be fully lovable. We're all healing, like emotionally, physically, we're all in some continuum of healing. And so to remember that you guys aren't alone, that everybody kind of feels that way in some way. And just journal. Journaling is, if you're not already doing it, it's your best friend in your dating life. It is just so good to sort of like, you'll have so many epiphanies. And I love a good affirmation. So I am lovable just as I am is a really good affirmation to remember. And I love this mantra, especially for 2025. It's like, I'm doing things differently now. And that mantra kind of gives you the permission to break out in a new way, to try new things, to go on a date when you're terrified. And no one's ever taught us how to intentionally date. So all my clients feel like they're in the same boat of like, okay, Disney sort of screwed us over and we just think that love is going to happen. And that's not really the case, especially now in today's world. We have to be intentional. Know your worth. I say this all the time, if we don't own our worth and our lovability, two things will happen. You'll settle because you'll have a scarcity mindset. You'll think, oh, there's nobody better. I'm just going to grab onto this. Or you won't align or you won't recognize an aligned person. We'll get into what aligned means, but intentional dating is all about finding people not to be chosen, right? Like we're kind of like conditioned to want to be chosen, like pick me, right? And dating actually shouldn't be about that. We are just humans connecting without expectation to see if we're aligned. That's all it is. So looking at dating from like an aligned, not chosen perspective really kind of takes that pressure off in a way. And we'll go over some questions that you can ask people to see if you're aligned with them. But it's about your worth. Remind yourself, like, this is a great exercise to do in your journal. Like, why are you a great partner? Like, what are your gifts? What do you bring to the table? So brainstorm, write down all the reasons, and then you can ask that question to someone. Well, what do you think, your qualities are that you're proud of that you bring to a partnership? And then you can sort of explain who you are. And just it's good to remember. It's really good to remember. Like, I'm a good listener. I like to make my friends feel special. You know, I like to kind of be adventurous. So I'm fun. I bring the fun, I'm thoughtful. So really just reminding yourself, of all the goodness. And this is really great. I call this visioning. So write down everything you want in a partner, okay? But not what you might think. It's not like, all right, I want someone who has brown hair, 6'2", blah, 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 blah. It's more like these things like makes my wounds a love language. Oh, like I get chills every time I say that one. What does that mean? Well, they actually want to know you on such a molecular level. They want to know what brightens you up, and they also want to know what you're going through. They want to know, are you hurting physically and emotionally today? How can they love you through that in a really beautiful way? And believe me, I know it sounds impossible, but there are people out there. I see the most amazing love stories. So we have to stick to our standards and be unapologetic about it, because it's almost better to be alone and fulfilled than to settle for someone who's just not capable of giving you what you deserve. Prioritizes the relationship, makes your happiness their own, makes you feel cherished, and the list goes on. So you make your own list. These are great thought starters, but make your own list, and then you'll kind of like tweak it. Again, I said that I'm witchy. So what starts to happen is when you start to, I call this visioning, when you start to vision the universe, all the universe is doing is trying to mirror and match what your thoughts are and what your intentions are. So if you start to build this list, guess what? It's really interesting what starts to happen. The people that start to magnetize to you will start to echo what your vision is. So the more specific, the better. So the biggest single predictor of dating success is, this is always a very big surprise, is it what you look like, where you live, how much money you make, color of your eyes, your height, what you do for a living? It's none of those things. It's none of those things. The biggest predictor is your energy. And I talk about this a lot. When I talk to people and considering working with them to coach them, I don't do video calls. I only do phone calls. Why? Because I'm reading their energy, and I can tell how successful we're going to be just based on that phone call. People all the time are like, "But I'm cute. Can't we just like do a Zoom?" I'm like, "I'm sure you're really cute, but I'm looking for that energy, that high vibrational energy that feels good." And so if that's the truth, and I know this to be true, then why wouldn't we want to be operating at 5 bars? And for instance, if your self-talk about yourself, and this is a good thing to journal through like one whole day of like how you speak to yourself, right? Because we are not our thoughts. It's like, it's kind of stunning how negative it can be, our internal voice. And if your internal voice is really negative, boom, you're vibrating low, right? Like you're really, really not vibrating high. So it's just monitoring that. And based on what you're going through, of course, you're going to have hard days, hard weeks, hard months. So give yourself a break there, but just know that you have the power to shift your energy in a second from low vibration to high vibration. The biggest example I give is dancing. Like I woke up the other day just feeling really, really low and triggered and all the things. And I put on Sky Full of Stars, Coldplay, which is kind of my fave. And I was by myself in my kitchen and I started like kind of dancing. I was like, this is so stupid. I feel stupid. And by the end of 3 minutes, I was like jamming. I'm like starting to sweat. But my vibration, it literally shifted over like 3 minutes. So just knowing that you have that power is kind of great. And I believe that energy is your equity, right? And it really does. Like in dating, it really makes a difference. So just owning, who you are, owning that, you are lovable just as you are a whole person, that really makes a difference in your whole like kind of outlook, and also how you're showing up and how people are magnetizing, towards you. So, yeah, we attract people at the vibration that we are, and we have to vibrate love in order to attract love, right? And so, these are some ways you can vibrate love. Love really is the highest vibration. And living in the now, I know you guys probably are familiar with this saying, and it's probably the hardest thing to do, but just trying to live in the now as much as you can, moment to moment. Don't put your happiness on hold. I see people do this a lot, right? And so it's like, well, I'm gonna date when I feel better. I'm gonna date when I finish doing XYZ. I'm gonna date when I get a new job. And it's just really easy to put that off. And if you really, really want love and you want a partner, it's like, there's no better time than right now, despite what you're going through. Again, I have clients who have found love in the midst of so many sort of life things that are happening. Feel good now. Like, don't put your happiness on hold. Like, what can you do now to feel good? What can you do to fill your own heart? This is a really quick and easy way. I have my own podcast. I interviewed Shauna Shapiro. She is a neuroscientist and she wrote this amazing book called Good Morning, I Love You. Please get it. It's beautiful. And her really simple every single morning practice is hand over heart. Sounds really weird when you do it at first, but it's, good morning, Amy. I love you. And it's really important to put your hand on your heart, to feel your heart beating and to start the day with self-compassion. Oh, I mean, it's powerful. And so that's a really, really easy way. It's a good practice to start. And make sparking joy. I have a spark joy list on my phone. And I make sure I try every day to look at it. I try to like do one, two, or three things from that list. And that could be calling Katie my best friend. It could be making that cup of ginger tea that I love and I always forget. I'm like, okay, make the tea. But you're allowed to take time out for you. You're allowed to spark joy for yourself. And that's just really, really important. Again, I'm all about energy. So any way we can spike that vibration, we feel better and then we become more magnetic. My 555 practice, again, on my podcast, it's called It Only Takes One, and you can find it on Spotify or Apple. I have these mini meditations I've recorded. They're 5 minutes, so they're super short. They're so easy. And if you, oh, sorry, this was in July, so we'll skip over it, make this for April. But in April, if you commit to this 555 practice, it's a 5 minute mini meditation. You write down 5 things you're grateful for and 5 things you love about yourself, and you commit to that every morning for the month of April. I promise you, you will start to feel a bit better, sort of energetically. And that's something that I really, really recommend. I know people preach meditation. I'm sure you guys have heard it. It's like meditation, meditate. And it's hard for me not to get on a soapbox about it. But I think 5 minutes is doable. And I've made them kind of guided so you don't have to ruminate on your own thoughts. I already talked about this 3 minute solo dance party. This is really, really great. You can only meet someone as deeply as you've met yourself. You really do have to be the one to attract the one. So what does that mean? As I talked about, self-love, self-compassion, figure out where your blind spots are and monitoring that internal voice. And know that other people can only meet you where they've met themselves too. So if you meet someone and let's say you meet someone and you disclose that you're going through, a cancer diagnosis and they cannot deal with it because there will be lots of people, even post-divorce, I would show up and people were like, oh, freaked out that, it was like papers weren't signed or whatever it is you're going through. If someone can't deal with that, then they can't meet you. They can't meet you there. And that's okay. We just have to let them go. You're a unicorn looking for a unicorn. So just expect that rejection is part of this. And most people aren't going to be for you, and you're not going to be for most people. And that's okay. And that's something that I think we forget in dating. It is sort of a numbers game. And, there's just going to be a lot of people kind of poof disappearing. And it is just how it goes. And so I started talking about self-compassion. I always, in my intake form for clients, I have this question, the voice in your head is dot, dot, dot. And it starts with like my BFF and it ends with nobody I'd have drinks with. And everybody says nobody I'd have drinks with. Again, that knowing that the voice in your head is just programming and it's really, really not you. You're the soul, you're the person inside watching the voice and listening to that crazy voice. So just I want you guys to start to just become aware of it and know that, especially in hard times, we beat ourselves up and know that, we can start to dim that voice. And like the meditation and the mindfulness really, really will help with that. Um, and so, yeah, just the self compassion, speaking to yourself like you would speak to a friend. And so, manifesting kind of like attracts like. So, tuning into the frequency of what you want to attract. And so, again, if we're really being hard on ourselves and we feel unlovable and we're getting down on ourselves, that's, when my clients complain and they say, I don't know why I just keep attracting the same non-committal person. It's like, well, we have to take a look at what station are we tuning into? If we want that person who's this elevated, emotionally mature, ready person, then we kind of have to be that. We have to figure out how to get there. And it is possible. So to manifest your partner, set an intention, right? I'm attracting the partner of my dreams. Okay. So that's your intention. Write that down. I am attracting, and the universe hears it in present tense. So it's not like I want to or I will. It's I am attracting the partner of my dreams. Okay. Number two, how will I feel when I'm with my soulmate? Right. So how are you going to feel? And you can visualize that, you can picture it. Okay. But the trick that people forget, this is the trick, is how can I feel this way now? How can I feel this way now? That euphoric, giddy feeling of like, oh my God, this person's amazing. I have this incredible connection. So I did some crazy stuff before I met Brett. And one of the things I did is I made a love playlist. I had it on my phone. I was walking around New York and literally listening to all my favorite love songs, swooning around and just feeling like what it would feel like to be with that person. And then one day, and again, I'm woo woo, I'm witchy, I'm a little crazy, so I'm just going to share. I was in CVS and I was putting like shampoo and everything in my basket. And I look over and I see this wedding card. Okay, this was 3 months before I met him. I pull the wedding card, I put it in my basket, I go home, I like write it out, like my love, da 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 da. And but it was very specific, like all of his qualities and how compatible we are and like what it feels like together. And I tucked it away and I put it up in my closet. And last year when I got married, I like the morning of like raced into my closet. I almost forgot it. And I like plucked it out and I was like, I better read this. I don't know if it's going to check out. Totally did. Gave it to him. And then I told him the story. So you just have to reach this point where you feel so worthy of love, you really believe it, and you have faith in the universe. This is going to happen. Like if I'm going to do this, it's going to happen. There is someone there for me. And how can you feel that way now is really the key. And affirmations are so powerful. These are the ones that I used. I, again, write these down. I put these on stickies and I had them all over my little tiny apartment in New York City. But I would say them every morning, like everything is happening for me and I'm truly taken care of. I love myself deeply and fully. The best moments in my life are yet to come. My life is filled with abundance and goodness. I am whole just as I am. These are the exact affirmations that I used. And there were days when I would be saying these through my tears, but I loved having them all over the place. And it's just kept bringing me back to center. And be specific. So I'm attracting love is fine, but I'm attracting a partner who is funny, generous, dog loving, adventurous, and truly values my unique gifts. This was a past client of mine, Holly. This was hers, and she's now married with baby. So that worked out well for her. But just be very specific. So and have fun with it. I think mine was I'm attracting a yoga loving alpha male, which I got. Um, and this is really important to have an abundant mindset versus a scarcity mindset. So, this is something I work with clients all the time on, and I'm sure you guys can relate. It's like, oh no, there are no good people out there, no one I'm going to match with, no one who's going to get what I'm going through. Versus, you know what? It only takes one. My person is getting ready for me, they're out there. Another scarcity mindset is everyone around me has love except for me. And then the abundant version is the universe is showing me that love is coming. So this is a really hard one. I know when everyone around you is like falling in love, getting engaged, another wedding invitation. It's like, oh my God, when is it my turn? But you're being shown what's possible for you. Another one, I'm behind, love is passing me by. Know that you are right on time, that your love comes in divine timing. I know that to be true. And then, I'll take what I can get. It's that settling. And then, no, I'm unapologetic about my standards. We do not settle. We do not settle. So, a winning dating profile is all about being you. So, let's get into that. Okay, this is just a silly little, this is my profile, my actual Bumble profile before I became like a little more conscious about it. Um, yeah, I was all about like portraying the vision that I thought men wanted to see. So I was like, party girl Amy. And you can imagine what I got back. I mean, I think there's a toilet. Like, what was I even thinking? I wrote nothing. So yeah, that's not cool. You have to write, and I will share with you my favorite prompts, but that was pretty tragic. And then this is what I came up with after, which is, more of a three-dimensional view of like travel and just different. I wasn't trying to be perfect. It's like just kind of who I am in the wild. So, just your friend can on portrait mode on an iPhone take some pictures. I feel like people a lot of times are wearing sunglasses or they're in group shots and they're just hiding, and you really want to show kind of the sparkle in your eye. And we can talk specifically, guys. Make sure like have questions for me if you have specific questions about photos. So I love the prompt simple pleasures. These were mine: meditation, my teens, brainstorming entrepreneurial ideas, discovering one new thing every day about New York. The more specific, the better. So I have a client, I just helped her, and hers is like, you know, making fun of what was it? Making fun of Ted Lasso with my friends. Like she just had these really funny, specific little like things that made her laugh that were great. Key to my heart is another great prompt. It's a way to help people understand what you're looking for. So get really specific. Different client just put like knowing my coffee order. Um, so the key to my heart is a great chance to also to state what you want. Excited to launch my next chapter alongside a partner who feels like home. And I think a lot of times online, we're really scared to sort of put that out there. And I think we have to be so specific about what we want and who we are that most people are going to be repelled. Most people are going to run for the hills. That's totally fine. And in fact, if you are getting so many likes online, then something's wrong. You want most people to go, not for me, right? And so we'll get into all the weeds on that as well. And then I like two truths and a lie. Yeah, okay, you guys can guess which one is the lie, but I did not play the violin with Yo-Yo Ma. So there you go. But again, don't shy away. Like write it like with your best friend. It should be something that's just so like if you have two cats and a parakeet, like say it, don't hide it. You want less people to like you. Okay. And be very specific. This is an actual client. My 90-year-old grandfather, John, is my hero. I speak fluent French and I finished a marathon with a broken foot. Really amazing people are on the apps disguised in really mediocre profiles. This is true. That's so funny. Ted Lasso. I forgot about this. We have to be really forgiving. Okay. Like if someone checks a few basic boxes, the photos are just okay. I always use like the Jerry Seinfeld example. I always say, if Jerry Seinfeld were suddenly single, would you go out with him? And most of my clients say, of course I would, but you'd never swipe on him. You wouldn't swipe on any of these guys either, but they're hilarious and awesome and they would be fun on dates. So we have to be a little forgiving. I also hear this a lot. I'm not excited about anyone on the apps. They're terrible. I always say, would you date 99.9% of the people walking down your street? No, you would not. It's no different. There's such an emotional connection to dating and love that we get very repelled. So we just have to look at it with levity, like, all right, let's see who's out there. Come from a place of yes, determine who's in the zone for you. So if they went to a decent school, they have, looks like they have a decent job, like you have to decide what's important to you. but be really, really forgiving. The profile is not the person, and you can always unmatch. So, let's come from a bigger place of yes. I'm just checking the time here. Okay, I'm going to speed through this. Warmth and validation is a magnet. Come from a place of curiosity. Active listening is a superpower. Don't be afraid of silence. These are all sort of when you're dating. Um, Mirroring back their sentiment with warmth and validation, and then a touch on the sleeve, warm compliment. So I think so much of dating, we're holding all of our vulnerability to our chest, and we're waiting for someone to prove that they have what it takes. We have to do the opposite. We have to actually open our hearts, and we have to vibrate high, and then wait and see who magnetizes to us. And I think that's a very different viewpoint than an approach than we're used to. We're used to being very like guarded, which I'm, guessing you guys can relate to. Intentional questions fast track you to your person. Okay. We're never taught this stuff. We go on a date and we're like shooting we're just like, okay, talking about the weather and stuff because we're never taught. Like, how are we supposed to choose someone? So, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Your person will love you and what you're going through, and they will not run. They will stay. And you might have to go through 50 first dates to get to them, and that's okay. Um, Ask questions, start to figure out like what your core values are and what matters to you. And then you can start to ask questions. Like for me, gratitude is my number one core value. And I would always ask people, what are you grateful for in your life right now? And I could tell some people just their eyes rolled in the back of their head and they were just not, I was not going to be for them. And that's totally fine. I have a core values quiz on my website, loveamy.co, and you can take it. And it's really, really interesting. These are some examples of core values. But again, taking that quiz is really interesting and gives a lot of fodder for dating. The mini screener date. So this tip is really important. When you're first dating, like don't give away 5 hours of your life on a Saturday to someone you've never met. So a mini screener date is like an hour, minimal dress up. You're going for coffee, you're going for an early drink before your dinner. Keep your boundaries tight. And it's just really important. So if someone says, hey, let's meet for dinner on Saturday, you can say, actually, I have an hour on Thursday from 6 to 7 before my dinner. How about that? Someone who pushes back on that is probably not going to be your person. So you can move right along. So the mini screener date roadmap is you get to your date, set your energy. You have an opener. I would always ask people, how's online dating going for you? Or how's dating going for you? Come up with those two questions, like the gratitude question. Let them get a glimpse into you, and we'll talk about this a little more of how much to reveal, and always have a heart out. So, they know that you have 1 hour. These are some sample questions that are just great. Who are you and your family? I love that. Not tell me about your family, but who are you? So like people will tell you, like I'm the black sheep, and you have to know what your answer is. What role does gratitude play in your life? My fave. What's one thing that people get wrong about you in your dating life? And what would your best friend say your best and quirkiest qualities are? Okay. Those are some really great, easy questions. 4-4 rule. By date 4, we need to know 4 things. And this is my kind of anchor of intentional dating. Chemistry, which can work in reverse. Got to give that some time. Core values, we just talked about. Emotional maturity. Okay. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. And for you guys, especially, there is going to be a component of emotional maturity that must be there for your part, for the people that you're dating. And most people don't have a high level of emotional maturity. So I'll give you some questions in a minute. And readiness. Are they ready for the same thing you're ready for? So core values, what causes do you care about? Who's your biggest role model? Who are you in your friend group, which I really love? What's your brand of funny? And what 3 core values are you looking for in a partner? So these are really great questions to ask when you're looking at values. Emotional maturity, really important. How's dating going for you? Tell me about your last relationship. Why did it end? People will tell you. What did you learn about yourself? What personal growth goals do you have right now? What's the biggest mistake you've made in your dating life? Do you love yourself? oof, that one cracks people right open. And anyone who has a hard time answering that, it's sort of an interesting study in where they are with self-love. When's the last time you cried and why? So these are, and then to assess readiness, asking someone, let's time jump 3 years. Where are you? Who are you with? What are you doing? On a scale from 1 to 10, where are you in terms of being ready for a relationship? Telling them I'm being intentional about my dating life. I'm ready. I wonder if we're aligned. And then it sounds like you might not be fully ready for a relationship. What do you think you might need? Right. So these are, again, some great questions to just see if they're ready. Right. So dating after diagnosis and having worked with clients who were diagnosed with cancer or in various stages of their recovery, of their fight against cancer, deciding when to diagnose the illness is really important. And for some of my clients, we put it right in their profile if they were actively kind of in the middle of kind of going through treatment. And we put it right in the profile. Sometimes, my clients didn't feel comfortable talking about it in the profile, which I totally understand, but they didn't want to feel like they were kind of leaving that out. So like as soon as they started talking to someone in the banter part of the apps, we would figure out how to weave that in. And sometimes on the first date, it just makes sense. So again, I would love to answer your questions. I'm kind of speeding through to leave room for that. And know that, you are more than your diagnosis, that everyone has what they perceive as a shortcoming. Everyone. If you look at yourself as whole, others will too. By owning your reality versus hiding it, you will model the behavior that you want to see, right? You want to be open, you want to, really show you want that energy out there to be magnetizing and loving instead of diminishing. If you want an emotionally mature person, you have to be that. That'll kind of shine a light on like the work you might have to do in terms of really upping your emotional maturity. And your person will love you more for your strength, outlook, and compassion. You attract who you are, not what you want. That's sort of the final thought. And that's my podcast. Christina, I'm like racing through so I can leave room for questions.
It's okay. Take your time.
Yeah. And so are they in the chat or do you want to feed me the questions?
Just if anybody has questions, there's, yes, so let me see.
Oh, yay, sky full of stars. Yay.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
So just ask if anybody has questions.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to put it in the chat, right? Or,
I can.
I have a question.
oh, sure.
I'm Grace. I was wondering, I know you were talking about different dating apps,
Uh-huh.
and I've heard different things about dating apps. Like a lot of people, I'm at college right now, and heard a lot of people like who I know have had kind of negative experiences with dating apps.
Oh, yeah.
And I wondered if that's like I know to like if I were to use one, I would be cautious. But do you get a lot of like positive experience with clients and stuff who
I do, but
with
you're bringing up
them?
such a good point is I think the whole like reputation, of dating apps and the idea of dating apps can be really tough to swallow. Like most people's perception of dating apps are that they are scary to use, that there's nobody good on them, that they're going to feel very vulnerable, that maybe people can find them. And that's just not the case. I think there's a lot of fear out there. No one can look you up. You can use your first name, you can change your first name. And they're just so widely used. But I will say the two that I recommend the most are Bumble and Hinge. There's a lot of other ones out there. It's just I look at the volume and I look at sort of, the success stories that I have personally seen. Those are the two for nearly any age range and I wouldn't try them both at the same time. If I would try Hinge first, maybe because it's like there are less people on Hinge than Bumble.
Mhm.
Bumble's got, a lot more people.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
What is your
Thank you
reasoning?
very much. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was going to just expand on that. What is your reasoning to go on a app that has less people?
Yeah, meaning Hinge has a lot of people. It's not quite as abundant as Bumble that could be overwhelming. So I think starting with Hinge seems to the vibe of Hinge seems to be like it's just a tad more chill so that you don't feel like, oh, I don't know what's going on. It's just easy to use. So I would say like get comfortable with Hinge. And then once you have a handle on that, add in Bumble because Bumble kind of it's great, but it can be a lot.
Okay, go ahead. Somebody else was asking a question.
Oh, sorry. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah.
I just want to let you know that my name is Max Howard, and it's been a while since I used the Cancer Buddy app for a long time since I'm a college student still,
Okay.
and anyway,
Yeah.
I'm also a cancer survivor, and
Amazing.
who?
No,
Oh,
that's incredible.
yeah, thank you. And I just want to let you know that as far as dating's been really just so screwed up ever since COVID because like dating apps, social media, the internet, and like felt. But to your point, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously don't believe everything you read. Don't take everything at face value. And
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that you're giving really good advice. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome, Max. Thank you so much for that. And I do think it is one of those things where it is a numbers game and you have to stay in it. It's like I use this, I like this analogy. If you were looking to buy a house, okay, and I told you that there was this amazing new app where you could find a house where you live and it's swiping for houses, right?
Uh-huh.
And you wanted a modern house, like a mid-century modern house, and all the app was showing you were these kind of like gross brick houses. Like, would you like throw your phone across the room and like start to like swear? It's like, no, you'd say, oh, wow, okay, I'm a unicorn looking for a unicorn. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And I think, I see people give up way too fast. And then they just sort of declare, like, okay, the apps don't work. Nobody good. Right. And then it's like really hard to meet people in person these days. And so I would just say, you gotta find a way to laugh about it. You gotta stick with it.
Oh, don't mind.
Your person might be joining Hinge tomorrow. They might, so it's just when I was swiping, I would just sort of make it a game. No one's real until you meet them in person. So I would just sort of laugh and say, oh boy.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out too, now that you mentioned that is that like something there's statistics that show that over 70% of men or 60% of men in my generation because I'm actually Gen Z. I'm 24 years old,
Yeah.
and they're not even trying to date a woman because and also you have like social norms like Me Too, hashtag Me Too, not being one of these things as a creep to that girl you're dating,
Yeah. Yeah.
and also 60% of that, and also the what was the statistic in dating apps? Over 90% of never 90% of men swipe right the on 10% of girls, 10% of girls, yeah.
Yeah.
And according to dating apps, that women are hypergamous,
hmm
meaning they date above and below.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I work with people who are, your age all the way up.
Yeah,
And so, and I know that it's tough, but when you think about it, like I was with a client the other day in Starbucks and it was a female client and there was two cute guys at this long table we were at. And I gave her like three different ways that she could open a conversation in real life with one of these guys. And it was so hard for her because everybody's on their phones, everybody's looking down, right? And it's
yeah,
like I remember when I was single, I'd be in line at the grocery store trying to talk to somebody, and they would look at me like, you are psycho. So we do have to figure out a way to use the apps because they do work. They really do. And you just have to stick with it.
yeah. I see
Thank
it, but well. And regardless, and this is so many dynamics
Yeah.
as far as there's so many interplay dynamics as far as like dating is concerned these days, and right now, and and it's even been that way ever since I was in high school,
Mhm.
because I graduated high school in 2019, and
Yeah. 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 It's not easy. And so that's why I think
No.
we have to look at the apps like a gift in a way, even though they're a
Yeah.
little tricky. Mhm.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There's some other questions from Lucy.
Okay.
How do you make a cancer diagnosis? Get that away. How do you make a cancer diagnosis and future unknown sound less scary to someone you're dating? How to not scare someone off?
It's such a good question. It's the number one question I get when I work with clients who have some sort of health issue that they're facing. And my answer is this, and it's sort of what I said before, is like you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Okay. And you have to be willing to freak someone out. We all have our stuff. And it's something you can rehearse. It's like you don't need to go into this long diatribe about what you're going through, but you can come up with one or two lines that on a first date, you're saying, listen, I just want to disclose something that I'm going through. And, I feel XYZ about it. I feel optimistic in my dating life. I just wanted to share that with you. And you have to be willing to face someone's reaction. A lot of people won't have the reaction you want, but it only takes one. There are plenty of compassionate people out there in the world. And I've had clients with lots of different health issues find love. And, you have to sort of build that muscle and you have to have a bit of a thick skin. And it's okay if someone kind of like recoils a little bit and then you don't hear from them. It's like, that's just not your person. That is the universe pushing them out of the way a little faster. So it's just important to have like a friend or two and a community like this one where you can relate to each other and support one another and say, oh boy, I just went on a, not great date. But just know that there are people out there that will, be able to hold you through that.
A great response in terms of, is this not the right person
Yeah,
and
just not the
not to take it personally.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's impossible. Believe me, I get it. It's like, how can you not? But if you remove yourself one layer and just know that, like, and that's what I call skillful vulnerability. Like, you don't have to feel like you have to disclose your whole medical history on the first date. Not at all. You come up with a couple of lines. Like, when I was post-divorce, I would say, like, listen, it didn't work out. Our core values weren't aligned. And then someone would say, well, what? I want to know the story. And I would say, well, it's really not for a first date, maybe down the line if we continue dating, right? So you have the power to sort of disclose a couple of facts, and then that's it. And if someone, or someone starts spewing their family story about cancer or whatever, it's like, that's their deal, but you can control what you say and you can control your boundaries.
Yeah, it's great. Does anybody else have any questions for us? Yes, here is one. I'm also a survivor and I've always moved through the world with high vibrations, vibrational energy and self-love, and it has attracted a lot of people who don't love themselves and don't have emotional maturity. Now that I'm post-treatment, I'm wondering how to identify those types and weed them out earlier.
Oh, that's such a good question. It's a great question for anybody listening, right? It's like, how do we, because here's what happens when when you're a high vibrational being, you're going to attract people who want more of it. They're deficient in it. They want more, right? But here's the key. You have to really seal off your energy. You have to make sure that if you're a people pleaser type, which I'm a recovered people pleaser, if you have a tendency to be a caregiver, a people pleaser, a nurturer, you have to be really careful that you're not going to let someone in to your orbit who is just an energy vampire, who's trying to just, right? The way you do that is it's the four pillars that I described. So you're asking really intentional questions to see if you're aligned, because someone who is sort of an energy vampire or someone who doesn't have the emotional maturity, they won't be able to answer those questions. When you ask, like, why did your last relationship end and what was your role? They won't be able to answer it, or they'll blame the other person. It's like you're looking for someone who has a high level of emotional maturity. We're just never taught to ask these questions on dates, right? So you might have great chemistry with this person, but then 6 months later, you're like, I don't know what's going on. I feel drained. I feel exhausted. And that's because you're just not aligned. So the key is to ask those questions right up front.
Great. And that was another question. Any tips for navigating dating with dietary restrictions? I don't eat out at all, and this has been a difficult thing to explain and navigate with dates. I'm also someone physically limited on what I can do as well.
Yeah, so that I have worked with those types of issues as well. And the best way is just to disclose that pretty upfront, like in the banter when you're starting to chat with someone, like chit chat on an app, is let's say that the chit chat's going well, you're, kind of asking some interesting questions back and forth, and they start to say like, well, maybe we should grab a drink or and you can just simply say at that point and say, like, I would love to meet you. Here's what I'm capable of, and here's why. And again, you have to be really, really willing for like to be ghosted. I mean, not everybody's going to be able to handle that. But as long as you're upfront at that point, and I would start with a FaceTime date. FaceTime dates are great, right? They're low stakes, 20 minutes. Have your questions. You have a little cheat sheet right there, right? And so if you do a few FaceTime dates and then you can figure out, okay, great. Like, a real date looks like what? What does that even look like? Are you going on like a walk? Or if you can't do that, then what is possible for you, right? Are you meeting in a park? I mean, what is that? So it's really about you coming up with your plan and you're sharing it, you're disclosing it. And that again, that's you vibrating high. People will either be able to meet you there or not.
Great. See if there's don't want to miss any here. Anyone else have any questions?
These are great questions.
I've worked with patients that have, just started, chemotherapy or have relapsed and started treatment again. And so they are in the midst of dating and they don't want to kind of stop because they still want to meet somebody. They're just because now they're back in treatment again, they don't want their whole life to just be nothing but their illness and they just want to continue with it. Um, for patients that are kind of going through that and they, going through chemo and they're feeling sick, but they might be still online or trying to carry on conversations and trying to get a meeting date with somebody. What do you suggest to them just to be transparent right up front about their situation, or do you wait till you meet in person?
It's so situational. I do think if you are in the midst, like if you're really in the thick of treatment and it's really affecting how you're showing up, every day is going to be different. You don't know how you're going to feel. The best thing to do is in that banter. Like when you're starting to banter online, don't wait, right there you can say, listen, I'm just letting you know I happen to be in the midst of treatment and I feel very hopeful. And I'm out here dating and I just want you to know like I'm a bit, limited in terms of dating, but I really like talking to you and I'd be up for a FaceTime, I'd be up for a phone call, like whatever you're up for. But again, it's a great filter because a lot of people won't be able to deal with that. Some people will be okay with it, but I think trying to hide, it's so much pressure and stress. It's like it's just better to sort of put it out there earlier rather than later.
Yes. Um, okay. Anybody else? Here, another one. I'm wondering about blind dating. Are there programs? That one just go. Are there programs out there for that?
I'm not sure I understand. So blind dating meaning like matchmaking or
Maybe matchmaking is what they're.
so I'll give you my take on matchmakers. I have a very strong opinion. I'm all about data. And I have yet to see any data that supports kind of matchmakers being really successful. I know that they advertise themselves, I know that they're very expensive. I just don't see the results. I really don't. I have almost no examples, even tangentially, of in my orbit of people who have met through matchmakers successfully. So I would just be really, really like skeptical. Your best bet is Bumble and Hinge and take it slow and with these tips. And I think that's a way better way to meet people.
Um, and we just had a newcomer, Donnie. So welcome. And we are going to send out a recording of this. Um, and somebody also asked if they could see the slide presentation again. I mean, we're going to send out a recording, so this will be part of the recording, the slide presentation. I don't know if you send out a handout of any kind.
I don't usually. I think if you have the recording, that's awesome because then people can go back and take notes. That's probably the best way to do it. I'm happy to, provide maybe a one pager of like some affirmations, but I think the fact that you have this is great.
Wonderful. And any thoughts on Match.com?
Oh yeah, good question. Match.com is a little bit tired. Like it's a little old school. I think it can work and it can work especially for like 60s, 70s, that age range better, but I just don't love it. I feel like it's a little old fashioned, it's a little clunky. If you are using Hinge and Bumble and you feel like you have a handle on it and you just want to add in, then be my guest. Add in whatever else you want, but I wouldn't go to Match.com as your kind of first line.
Good advice.
Mhm.
And I think that we'll probably wrap it up, and we'll definitely send out the recording to everyone who's on the call. And I hear one more question, I guess. Are the paid versions of the apps more effective?
Okay, that's a great question. They are. I'll tell you why. So for Bumble, it's premium, and for Hinge, it's Hinge X, like just the X. Um, because again, these apps, they're struggling. They're trying to make money. They withhold, there are sections on each app of people who have already liked you. So it's really nice to see like to see the people who've liked you so that you can immediately start talking to them. Unless you pay, you're not going to be able to see them. And so that's sort of a gatekeeping mechanism. So I do recommend, you don't have to, but if you can, I would just try a month for each of those.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Amy.
Of
I
course.
I think it's so helpful, um and we'll definitely get this out to a lot of people that signed up for this. And life continues after diagnosis. So this is one aspect that's so important to everybody's life and happiness. And so I'm grateful that you were able to share your incredible insights and compassion and to help support this community.
I'm so thrilled. I really am. I'll, come back anytime and you guys can contact me, find my, email me and I'm happy to answer questions. I think what you're doing, Christina, is incredible and this community is amazing. And those were great questions.
Thank you. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight and for being a part of our Cancer Buddy Conversation series and getting lots of great information like Amy's. So have a
Thanks, guys.
wonderful Friday and weekend.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.